From Shane McClanahan to Spencer Strider, there are a lot of young returning starting pitchers looking to make an impact coming off of big injuries in 2024. We'll look at those names and more on today's action-packed episode of Locked On Fantasy Baseball.
You are Locked On Fantasy Baseball, your daily fantasy baseball podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, fantasy baseball fanatics, and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Baseball podcast, brought to you by the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. As always, we're your number one source of fantasy baseball knowledge, and thank you for making us your first listen each and every day. I'm your host, Dominick Martino, riding solo today, as you can see if you're watching on YouTube. And if you're watching on YouTube and you haven't already, hit that little bell below. It will subscribe you to the channel and give you a notification every time we drop a new episode. And if you're listening on a platform like Apple or Spotify that allows 5-star ratings and reviews, we would truly appreciate it if you could do that for us. And lastly, but most importantly to Matt and I, give us a chance on the Subtext platform. Through Subtext, it's an in-depth personalized experience through text messaging alerts right to your phone, offering so much more than we can in this 30-minute episode. And if you are interested in joining us on Subtext, you can check for the link. It's available on any of our social media platforms, also available wherever you're listening or watching. And you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started today. And all right, guys, as I said up top, if you're watching on YouTube, you can see riding solo today. Matt had a little something he had to attend to. So, we normally like to do these starting pitching episodes together, but I'll be rocking alone for part 2 of our way too early starting pitching ranking preview episode. And we got through our pretty much top 10 last time. So I'm going to try and get through my 11 through 20, maybe 11 through 21. Let's see how things go today. And let's just get right into it. Let's talk some Gerrit Cole. I have Gerrit Cole ranked as my number 11 starting pitcher going into 2025. Really love Gerrit Cole. He had a pretty solid year last year. He did deal with a little bit of, shoulder issues. Elbow issues, which are just as scary as shoulder, if not more scary. But he did throw 95 innings. He had a 3.60 ERA. He struggled, but looked a little bit better. He had a 3.41 ERA in his 17 starts, 95 innings. He had 99 strikeouts, and he had a 1.12 WHIP. He needed a little bit of time to start looking like himself. He really was just warming up through his first few starts. Looked better at the end. I don't know if Cole's going to be the monstrous 200-inning guy that he was in 23 and 22, but he'll give you, low threes, high twos ERA. I think he can still throw 170 innings plus with, some 190 strikeouts and a really solid whip. He's always been good at that throughout his whole career. He will be 34 in his next season. I think if you're taking him as like your low-end starting pitcher 1, honestly, you're avoiding some of the risks with the guys like the Glasnows, the Yamamotos, even the Sales, who's going to be, I think, drafted above Gerrit Cole. And actually, as I say that, I do have some way too early ADP pulled up that, has just recently become available over the past couple of weeks. This way too early ADP is thanks to Fantasy Pros. They take 3 different platforms that have ADP available so far, combine them together, so we're getting a little bit of idea of across all 3 different platforms combined what we're looking at as far as ADP here. Gerrit Cole actually is coming off the board, ironically, as the number 11 starting pitcher so far. So I do like it. And like I said, you're kind of just avoiding some of the riskier guys that are going ahead of him. I think there's a very safe floor here with Gerrit Cole. I don't even think there's so much to debate. Some of the underlying stuff didn't look as good as it had in previous years, but I'm not super worried about a guy like Cole. I honestly think he's a set it and forget it SP1, and you're going to be really happy about it. Next guy that I have ranked as my SP12, it's risky and it's early. This is, I think, going to change as news comes out. Honestly, he might even have a chance to move up. It's Shane McClanahan of those Tampa Bay Rays. So, McClanahan missed all of last year. was out with the injury and looking to just rebound and get back into it this year. Let's look at his 2023 McClanahan. He had 21 starts with a 3.29 ERA, 115 innings pitched, 121 strikeouts, a 1.18 WHIP. I think he's going to be somewhere between. Let's look at his career numbers, right? Let's do that actually for McClanahan because he has 74 starts across his career already. In case you haven't been paying attention, 33 wins, 16 losses, a 3.02 ERA, 404 innings, 456 strikeouts, and a 1.10 WHIP. I think we see something like that. A monstrous strikeout totals, a low threes ERA, and a 1.10 WHIP, maybe even I could even see getting lower than that, like a 105 WHIP from McClanahan. He's going to be 28. He's right in the prime of his career. And right now, his ADP is probably a lot lower than that. Just because we don't know what's going on with him. We haven't heard too much. Honestly, he's coming off the board right now as SP39. So it is a bolsterous ranking by myself here. I just think if he's ready for opening day and we know he's going to be healthy and Tampa's like, hey, we're just going to let him rock and roll. I'm just trying to see if there's not really even any like recent news on McClanahan. But you know what? I really, really think that he's going to be out there for opening day. If we hear otherwise, right? If they hear, oh, no, he might miss a little bit of time, I could see moving him down. But just the upside of taking a guy like McClanahan potentially as your SP2, right? I could see myself moving. Okay, so let's do this. We could do this live because this is always fun to do as I'm going through my rankings here. I think I'll move McClanahan down to 13. The guy I have after him at 13 now is going to go down to 14. And then who I have after them two will jump up to 12. So let's say McClanahan right now is, my SP13. And once again, we just know the upside here. Or, really strong ERA, a lot of strikeouts on a good team like Tampa. He's going to win some games, has really good control. He has really good stuff. We've seen him do it before. In the 3 years that he's, been in the bigs, made over 20 starts, has never had over a 3.43 ERA, has always had well over a strikeout per 9. You look back at that 2022 season where he was in Cy Young contention, was an all-star again in 23. This kid's on the right track. Almost that Tarek Skubal track that, I was all over him, told you to do it. I'm jumping back in big on McClanahan this year. I think he's going to have a monster season. So now let's go. Let's jump in and talk about the guy who moved up real quick. Let's talk about Dylan Cease. Moving Dylan Cease up to 12. I think that's the right spot for him. I think Dylan Cease is a bona fide SP1 at this point in his career. Got away from those White Sox that I honestly think were holding him back. Goes over to the Padres. Has a really, really, really big year one with them. Let's read off those numbers for Dylan Cease with the Padres this year. 14 wins, 11 losses, a 3.47 ERA across 33 starts, 189 innings, 224 strikeouts, with a 1.06 WHIP, the best WHIP of his career. I think just a couple of tweaks, a couple of things over there. He's around a really good starting pitching staff around him. Guys helped him. Cease is that guy. Going to be 29, still right in the prime of his career. Cease has made at least 32 starts every season going back to 2021. He's been, prime example of, just staying out on the mound, making his starts. I think Cease can be right where he is, mid-3s ERA, huge strikeouts. I think the WHIP has taken a step forward, so I think we'll see, right around that 106 WHIP where he is. Maybe it gets a little higher, maybe it's like a 110, but you can't ask for much better than an SP1 in the state right now where pitching is. We'll talk about these next names, and honestly, as we go through these names, there's a lot of young guys that have moved up that have impressed. A lot of older guys moving down. We're kind of in that transfer of power sort of time where you're not going to really be like, well, damn, that guy, we have to take that guy as an SP2, but we're adjusting right now, and I think the floor of a guy like Dylan Cease is where we're happy. We know he's going to give us a lot of strikeouts. He's been good at suppressing runs. He has worked on his pitches. Honestly, that fastball's back up around 97. In 2023, it was only sitting around 95 and a half. You could see the results on it are so much better because of that. The slider has gotten better. The slider, the velocity, that was up on that last year too. So Cease leaned heavy into just that four seam fastball and slider, where he was throwing that knuckle curve about 15% in 2023, got it down to about 8%. So basically almost cut it in half. In 2024, cut the usage on it. And it never got really good results. Didn't even get really good results in 24. Honestly, would love to see him move that sweeper up into that 3-hole. He was throwing the sweeper about 4% of the time. Get the sweeper up to about 8. Move that knuckle curve down. Honestly, scrap it. Because he's gotten good results on the sweeper last year. So I think that's something Cease can do, maybe even suppress runs a little bit better. Maybe Dylan Cease has an even better year in 2025 with like a high 2s, low 3s ERA even, because the FIP believed in him. The Fielding Independent Pitching, which is an ERA indicator, believed in him in 2024. So I could see it from, Dylan Cease. But guys, before we move on, and we have names like Hunter Greene, Jack Flaherty, Aaron Nola, and so much more coming up next. And guys, real quick, I need to talk to you about my friends over at FanDuel. Guys, now get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. And folks, real quick, once again, I want to talk to you guys about the Locked On Fantasy Baseball Podcast Diamond Club on the Subtext platform. It's going to be your ultimate fantasy baseball companion as this offseason continues to unfold. You can rely on Matt and I for our dynamic content. And guys, right now we are releasing our 2025 way too early rankings. They're a little bit rough. We're still working on them, but you'll get those right now if you join on Subtext, so you can follow along on the episode when I'm talking about my rankings. We're also going to be releasing way too early sleepers, breakout bust, and so much more than we can offer in this 30-minute episode. So stay ahead of your fantasy league by joining the Diamond Club on the Subtext platform, where the path to your victories begin. Subscribe now and elevate your fantasy baseball experience to a new level. And if you are interested in joining us on Subtext, the link is in our bio wherever listening, watching, and it's available on any of our social media platforms. And all right, folks, let's just jump right back into it, because I know you're eager for so much more fantasy baseball content. Guys, this is an interesting one. This is one of the guys I was moving down just because I can't draft him as an SP1 right now. It's Spencer Strider. And, he's one that is guaranteed pretty much. The Braves said that they don't think Strider's going to be ready for maybe his first 3-4 starts. He's going to miss a little bit of time. But I think the payoff is very, very similar to a Shane McClanahan's, maybe even a little bit better. Spencer Strider did opt for the internal brace. He didn't get full-blown Tommy John. So that is a good sign. Had a very strong year in 2023. Strider did. He had 32 starts, a 3.86 ERA, which was a bit high, but he pitched 186 innings and had 281 strikeouts. And the difference between his ERA and his FIP, once again, we just talked about FIP when it's an ERA indicator, had a 2.85 FIP to that 3.86 ERA Spencer Strider did with a 1.09 WHIP. We know what Strider's upside is. He's going to be age 26 coming back in 2025. I think after that first month, he's an SP1. I think it's going to be a low 3s, high 2s ERA, a monstrous amount of strikeouts. Probably the best K percentage in the whole league, Spencer Strider. And the whip will be like maybe around where it was last year with that. It wasn't 23, that 109 whip, because the whip is one of the last things to come back. That control sometimes it takes time, especially coming off of a big injury, surgery, stuff like that with Strider. I think he's going to be very, very good. I think if you're drafting him as your SP2, there's just so much room for growth, because if you're pairing Strider with any of the top names, like especially a Burns, a Skeens, a Wheeler, a Scooble. If you're taking one of them, you're going bang bang. You're going dual aces. You could wait. You could honestly wait and just build out your bats for the next 5 rounds. Jump back in with starting pitching and still build a great rotation. Of course, I'm talking about like in a 12-man league. Once you get deeper than that, it's just really every man's for himself. But I think pocket aces is a strong strategy this year, because starting pitching is deep. If you get 2 good ones quick and you then just build out your hitting, you could do very well. And with a guy like Spencer Strider, it's allowing us to do that, because honestly, we could even check way too early ADP that I was talking about right now. I guarantee he's being taken probably way after McClanahan. We don't even have to pay this kind of price for Strider right now. So take advantage of it. As I'm scrolling, it's fantastic, because I still haven't even seen Strider's name yet. And unless I've missed him, it looks like he might even be outside of the top 100 pitchers. Like I said, unless I've missed him here, I'm just scrolling and scrolling. I don't think we're gonna have to pay a thing for Strider off the bat, but I do think as awareness comes along and people remember, oh yeah, Spencer Strider, he's supposed to be back not that long after, I found him. I had to scroll up because he is coming off the board before McClanahan, so I scrolled the wrong way. SP35 off the board right now for Strider. So let me correct myself here. Pick 100. It's still a good spot. I have him as, like I said, my 14th ranked starting pitcher. So if we could take him as our, like, it looks like SP3, 4, you're going to be dominating. You're going to be dominating your fantasy league. So target Spencer Strider all you can right now in early drafts. Let's move on to a young and upcoming ace. Had a monster 2024. Of course, it's Hunter Greene. Oh, man, I love me some Hunter Greene. The only downside is the home park he pitches in Cincinnati for those Reds. It's a Great American Small Park over there, but it didn't hurt him at all this year. Breakout season for age 24. Hunter Greene, 26 starts this past season, 2.75 ERA, 9 wins, 5 losses. 150 innings, 169 strikeouts, a 101 whip. It's what we've been waiting for. It just shows that the proof is in the pudding. Hunter Greene was the number 1 pitching prospect in all of baseball at one point. I just don't really think there's much else to ask for this kid to prove the underlying stuff. When it comes to Hunter Greene last season, looks really, really good. His xERA looks great. The batting average against was phenomenal. That fastball, of course, is one of the most dominant in all of baseball right now. He doesn't really get hit too hard. If he could just walk a little bit less, guys, get a little bit more balls on the ground, of course, you'd be talking about potentially Hunter Greene as the number 1 starting pitcher in all of baseball. Like I said, I have him ranked currently at 15. I think I can even move Hunter Greene ahead of McClanahan and Strider. I'm actually curious where early ADP is on Hunter Greene. I would think they'd be somewhere around where I am, just because Hunter Greene was so good this past season. SP21. So actually a little bit lower than where I'm at with Hunter Greene, but I really, really think a great SP2 here. Very similar numbers. I just think he could throw 200 innings this year. I think Hunter Greene has the big frame on him, 6'5", 242 pounds. I think he's just built to throw innings. And I think he can, even if he learns the Justin Verlander technique, Justin Verlander, if you're not familiar, what he would do at beginnings of games is he would take a little bit of his velocity off. He would start off, 92, 93 in the first, second inning. Then, third, fourth, you see 94, 95, 96. He's creeping up. And batters are getting thrown off. And then as you're talking about 6th, 7th, 8th inning, because Verlander would do that all the time, he would get up to 99, 100, 98 and just start blowing guys away. And if Hunter Greene can learn how to do that, just really save that big fastball for the end of games when he really needs it, or just use it in big spots, not put a lot of stress on that arm. You're talking about 200 innings, 250, 60 strikeouts, with a really strong whip, a sub-3 ERA. He's a top 10. He really is a top 10 starting pitcher in baseball when you're just talking about straight talent and the upside here. I love me some Hunter Greene. I think I'm going to have a lot of shares if he's coming off the board as the 21st starting pitcher. But guys, real quick, I still have names like, once again, Aaron Nola, Pablo Lopez, Framber Valdez, and more coming up next. So stay locked on. And guys, I need to talk to you about my friends over at Game Time. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for your favorite live event even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. With Game Time Picks curation, it makes it easier to save more on sports, concert, comedy, theater, and more. Game Time has plenty of great features, as well as their all-in pricing. When you toggle this feature, it shows you the total upfront, so you have no surprise fees when you check out. With their seat views, you can get a panoramic view from the actual seat you'll be sitting in the app before you buy. With their lowest price guarantee, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. And with Game Time's ticket coverage, your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Guys, what time is it? Game time. And folks, I'm jumping right back in for the home stretch. Let's get a controversial name up here. Let's talk Jack Flaherty. I have Jack Flaherty at 16 right now, as 2025 starting pitching rankings go. This one is going to be dependent on where Jack Flaherty signs, right? He's a free agent. Had a pretty solid showing there with the Dodgers in that little stint there at the end of the season and the playoffs. And, he really made his money with the Detroit Tigers this past season, man. And I would love to see a reunion. I would love to see the Tigers go out there, put it all on the table, get Jack Flaherty back out there, him and Skubal, just go out there and dominate. But that's yet to be determined. And right now, actually, early ADP has Jack Flaherty as SP31 coming off the board. I disagree. I just think there's too much upside. Even if let's take the 2024 season from Flaherty as a whole, right? He had a 3.17 ERA, of course, 28 starts, 162 innings, 194 strikeouts, and a 106 whip. Just really found it. He got it back. He had a rough 22 where he was banged up. 23 was his first year back from injury. But we've seen Flaherty be a really, really good pitcher before. I want to take out Flaherty's 6 starts from 2017. So we're going to do Flaherty's 2018 through 2024. If if my laptop wants to work with me. Here we go. So through that time period, once again, Jack Flaherty, 2018 through 2024, that's 148 starts, a 3.56 ERA, 808 innings, 922 strikeouts with a 117 whip. So I would expect something around that, a mid-3s ERA, a lot of strikeouts, and a 117 whip. To me, that's an SP2 with upside here, right? If Flaherty does go to a really good team, if he goes to a team in a good park, if he goes to a team like Houston, he goes back to Detroit, I just really think you're going to see more success from him. He's going to be 29 years old, still in the prime of his career, can still strike guys out. really worked on limiting the walks last year, which was great for him. Only 38 walks and 162 innings, as to where in 23, Flaherty had 144 innings pitched and 66 walks. So there's room to grow. There's room to grow here with Flaherty for him to get back on track. You look at the 2021 season where he was dominant. You look back to 2019 where Jack Flaherty was dominant. I don't think he'll ever get back to those kinds of numbers, but if Flaherty can give us 175 innings, close to 200 strikeouts, a 3.5 ERA with a 1.10 WHIP, we're still looking really, really good. And I really think that's where Flaherty could wind up. Maybe even a reunion with the Cardinals, a sneaky reunion with them. Wouldn't be shocked with one like that. So Jack Flaherty, I really do like him going into 2025. I could see him moving down a smidge in my rankings, but I don't think he moves down too much, even if he signs with a bad team. Let's move on. I like doing the interesting names. I like doing the fun names that aren't always talked about so much. Let's do the Framber Valdez thing. Number 17 starting pitcher in my rankings. This is just more of the consistency, right? If you're not in the market for a Jack Flaherty and you want somebody that you kind of, you know what you're getting for, which I don't think there's like a crazy amount of upside here. You do the Framber Valdez thing. 28 starts for Valdez last year. Of course, he pitched for those Houston Astros. A 2.91 ERA, 15 wins, 7 losses, 176 innings, 169 strikeouts, and a 1.10 WHIP. You could pretty much chalk it up for Valdez, right around a K per 9, usually a bit under. Last couple of years, it's either a high 2s ERA, a low 3s ERA. He's just really good. And like I said, if you went risky with your first starting pitcher and you need consistency, you take Valdez. I really don't think there's so much more. He's going to be 31 this year. Just pillar of consistency. If I had to throw a prediction for what I think Valdez is going to do, a 3.2 ERA, 180 innings, 170 strikeouts with a 1.10 WHIP. And like I said, you're winning with that. You're winning with a guy that's consistent. He's giving you at least 28 starts, the last 3 seasons, with 31 starts in 23 and 22. So Valdez, really good. Let's see who's coming off the board right now with early ADP. I bet you it's fairly high because, people are, oh, no, she's low. SP24 off the board for Valdez. So he's almost someone you can get as your SP3. So imagine walking out of a draft like this, right? Let's see if you could pull off let's be a little realistic here. If you could do a Logan Gilbert or a Corbin Burns as your SP1 with a Blake Snell or Hunter Greene as your SP2, and then a Framber Valdez or somebody probably talk about in the next episode, or Freddie Peralta as your SP3. I think that's fun. I think that's fun, or a fun thing to do right now. I think I got to get myself in some of these early NFBC drafts because I really, really love the way the ADP is looking so far. Let's keep doing the fun names, and we'll do this one to my buddy Jonathan. Let's see if he's watching. Let's do Pablo Lopez. Pablo Lopez is a really great starting pitcher. Right now, he's coming off the board, early ADP as SP18. I have Pablo Lopez as my 20th starting pitcher right now. And it's just more because I know he's not old yet, but we've seen him do the same thing for quite a few years in a row now. And I just don't know if I'm banking on there being upside anymore, right? The last 3 years, I'm going to read off Lopez's ERA: 3.75 in 2022, a 3.66 in 2023, and a 4.08 in 2024. And each of those 3 years, he's thrown at least 180 innings. The strikeout numbers have been really good the last 2 years. Last year, he struck out 198. The year before, in 23, struck out 234. And last couple of years, a 119 WHIP, a 115 WHIP, a 116 WHIP. This is where we're starting to get to that, low end SP2 range, innings eater. I don't think it's ever going to be a low 3s ERA. I think it's going to always be a 3.5 or higher. We know the strikeouts going to be there, but he's also limiting us in the whip department, right? It's not always even just the walks with Pablo Lopez, it's the hits too. He gives up a lot of hits. There's always a lot of guys on those bases, and then when he gives up those home runs, which he does, give up over 20 the last 3 years, it's hurting them, and those Twins, they're a solid team. He got 15 wins last year. I think the Twins will be all right, this year too. But I'm just not banking on him taking that step forward like, we were, even last year, 2 years ago last year. I just don't see it anymore. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he proves me wrong and Pablo Lopez goes out there, he throws a 2.75 ERA with, the great strikeouts, and he lowers that whip too. It's just that even some of the underlying stuff doesn't really love it. Ground ball percentage isn't always there. Like I said, gives up a lot of home runs. The breaking stuff and the off-speed stuff isn't always, moving the best for him. He gets barreled up pretty well. He gets hit pretty hard. And even the underlying stats when it comes to ERA, it's sitting at like a 3.67 when you're looking at xERA. And when you're looking at FIP, I believe the FIP is a 3.65. So it's basically spot on to a high 3s ERA, a higher end whip. It's really just the huge strikeout totals for Pablo Lopez that we're looking at here. As much as I do love him, and Jonathan, if you're here listening, brother, I know you love him too. But we're looking at Pablo Lopez as more of a low-end SP2, and that's 12-man leagues. And then in points leagues, he makes it up, and he looks differently, Jonathan. I know I got to throw that points league spin on there for you too, brother. Big strikeout numbers, so you love that in a points league, and the wins potentials on a good team. So you like him in those points leagues a little bit more, moves him up, probably more of a high-end SP2 in those situations. But guys, with that being said, thanks for watching and listening and making Locked On Fantasy Baseball your first listen each and every day. Shout out to our everydayers and new listeners. After you make Locked On Fantasy Baseball your first listen each and every day, you go over and make Locked On MLB your second with our boy Sully over there. Does a great job covering the league in a little bit of a different way than we do. But guys, until next time, see ya.